Alright, let me know. Alright, my name is Charlotte, and I'm going to do trach care on Tracy Trach. First, I'm going to do it. I'm going to acknowledge the patient. I'm going to do 2 identifiers. Can you verbalize your name and date of birth? Thank you. I'm going to knock before I enter the room. I'm going to check the order and determine the need for trach care. And I'm going to gather my supplies. And I'm going to introduce myself, state my name, and I'm going to do proper body mechanics. I'm going to let the rail down, and I'm going to put the bed up to waist height in semi-Fowler's position. Oh, and I'm going to provide privacy. I'm going to put the bedside table at waist height and have my supplies ready. Then I'm going to reassess the pain level. I'm gonna look at pain interventions in the chart and allow 30 minutes for those to work. I'm gonna establish a sign for the patient if she wants the procedure to stop. I'm gonna also reassure the patient that if there's any respiratory difficulty, that I will stop immediately. I will also determine the need for suctioning. In that case, I'm gonna don a mask and a PPE gown, and I'm gonna just act like I have that on. I'm gonna also start with my supplies. If I had help, if I could obtain help, I would obtain help when giving care. I would have the other nurse hold the trach in place while I finish what I am doing. If patient is unconscious, I would lay her in a lateral position facing me. Now I'm going to do my sterile fill. This is an addendum for the trach care. Okay, so one thing I forgot to say is before the gloves out. Either way, another thing I forgot to do over the eyes. And I would not lean over that at all, otherwise it would not be sterile anymore. I would then empty the contents onto the sterile field. I'm gonna then pour, well, before I empty any contents, I would check the expiration date, integrity of the package, and the contents in the package. I will also do the same thing with the sterile saline bottle. Then I'm going to pour sterile saline. At this moment, I would don my sterile gloves. And I don't know if I said it, but I would also tell her the amount of time I would take and explain why I am doing this procedure. In this case, I would have my sleeves rolled up before I do this because I don't want to contaminate. I would then drape the patient. I would remove oxygen sources needed. Well, before I put on my sterile gloves, the patient would have already been draped. So I'm gonna just act like that I did that before. And we're just gonna say that these are still sterile. I'm gonna take the oxygen source out. Of course, the oxygen and the draping was done before I had on the sterile gloves. So we're gonna pretend that that I just put on the sterile gloves and I'm rearranging my field. Yeah. So I'm gonna rearrange my field. I'm gonna pour this cleaning solution into sterile container, drop. I have my applicators, and I have my soap. So back to the patient. I removed that already. Holding this in place, I'm gonna unlock the trach, the inner cannula. I'm gonna drop that into the cleaning solution. I mean, of course not like that. I'm gonna drop it into the cleaning solution. I would take off my sterile gloves. Yeah. I would don new sterile gloves. I mean, I do hand hygiene, don new sterile gloves. And then I would clean. So with this bin in here, I would clean it without reaching over my field, of course. Carefully. And then I would put it in the sterile saline. I would drop this in the trash. I would allow that to rinse in there. Just switching it around a little bit. And then I would dry it. Right in there. Drop. Allow it, try to get it dry as possible because you don't want anything going into the patient's trach. And then I would sit it in there and let it air dry. I would then take off my sterile gloves and I would don new sterile gloves. Well, yeah. I will hold this in place and I will remove this, wrapping my glove up in my hand. Then we're gonna do gloves. Before I put on my gloves, might want to put the oxygen back on for a second. Oxygenate it. Of course, sleeves rolled up like I said before. Okay. With my non-dominant hand, I'm gonna take that back off. Holding it in place, I would then clean the ostomy. Clean inner outward. Not using this more than once. Do the other side, inner outward, and then I would take a clean gauze, sterile gauze, and I would dip this in sterile saline, and I would clean the faceplate, inner outward, not using this more than once. Do the same thing with the other side. I would then check to see if this is all the way dry. And I would enter it in there. Make sure it's locked. I would then put on the cut gauze. I mean, well, not, pre-cut. I would not cut a gauze. Make sure you never cut a gauze because you don't want anything going into the patient's trach. I would then put the oxygen back on. For the ties, I would, if I had help, I would obtain help and get one nurse to hold the trach in place while I do the ties. But in this case, it's only one of me, so I'm gonna do it myself. So remove oxygen again. Well, I would not have these gloves on. I would have took these off, and I would have did hand hygiene, and then I would don clean gloves. Of course, not turning my back towards my patient. So, I would then, I'm just gonna say, because this patient, I didn't know that they had two ties on, so I'm gonna just say this is my tie, and this was never on her at first. So, with this, I'm gonna put this behind her. Holding this in place, I would untie one at a time, one side. Okay, and to check placement, I would put one finger in. I'm gonna take the one out. Let me go one out. Drop that. I will ask the patient to flex her neck to check comfortability, and then I would put the oxygen back on, and I would reassess patient's respiratory status, and And I would gather my supplies, perform nurse of aided, put everything in a proper receptacle, let the rail back up, put the bed back down, take my gloves off, wash my hands, do a safety check, and I would document the time and date I put the trach in, and that is all.